First of all, thank you very much for the kind invitation. I must state my delight in having to join two very distinguished colleagues with whom I had the opportunity to work together bilaterally and also within the European context. We did many things with Florence, extending our bilateral strategic relationship between Greece and France, also breaking, I think, a very special kind of record along the way, having 6 aircraft delivered within 1 year, fully operational with their crews ready to incorporate themselves into our defense structure within 1 year from signing the contract. Also with Ben, I had the opportunity to visit, apart from Paris, which I did repeatedly, had to visit London and sign with Ben on behalf of the Greek government the joint vision statement with Great Britain. What does this all demonstrate? That our countries truly share almost an identical perception of how to manage international affairs and how to work towards bolstering peace and security in Europe, in the wider region, in the world. Now, the problem is that we are living in an increasingly unstable, unpredictable, uncertain and potentially dangerous world. There's war on European soil with Russian invasion of Ukraine, and I think this is a defining point in time with respect to the new security architecture that we seek to impose in Europe. There's rising superpower rivalry all over the world. There is China asserting itself and challenging US supremacy. There's the rise of the global South, which both tends to question the hegemonic role of the United States and Europe. Actually, a few of some autocratic leaders within the global South perceive Europe without any doubt as weak and indecisive, and not a huge geopolitical entity to be reckoned with, which is a problem that Europe seems to address, needs to address as soon as possible. There's a geopolitical influx. And also there's a new US administration, adds to the general unpredictability, and in its own very, let's say, distinctive way, pushes Europe to establish its new security framework by not relying so much as it used to before in the past on the American security umbrella. So Europe needs to cope by itself, and this is a huge responsibility that falls upon the shoulders of European leaders. It seems to me that the message has been well received. Instruments have been proposed and implemented. Rearm Europe is a very ambitious project of raising some $800 billion to bolster European Union defense. Also, there's the SAFE program, which means the European Commission accessing the financial markets in order to raise another $150 billion to be lended to the member states in order to invest in defense projects by paying specific attention to projects of interoperability and probably joint procurement schemes. If we are to borrow 150 billion from the European Commission, we need to use that money smartly and wisely in order to jointly develop our defense capabilities. Those two tools are without doubt very useful, but they do remain tools and instruments. There's more than that if we are to achieve the objective of bolstering Europe's strategic autonomy and designing this new security architecture. European leaders must find the political will to work together. We must sometimes, they need to think out of the box in order to achieve a joint procurement scheme and do away with national antagonism between member states. When I was Minister of Defense, my two colleagues know it, I proposed a point of beginning, let's say somewhere to start from. And this would be the implementation of 3 or 4 or 5, what have you, flagship projects. Let's say the new 5th generation European aircraft, or the new European main battle tank, or the new European frigate, whereby one single member state, a leading, let's say, country in the defense industry, would claim the leadership of each project, and there would be certainly an allocation among countries. For example, France would take leadership in the 5th generation aircraft, or Great Britain in the new frigate type ship, or Germany in the new main battle tank, for example. I'm just stating the examples out of my mind. But if one strong country, European country in defense, in the defensive industry, would assume leadership of a project, the others would follow suit and state their participation in the project. And at the end of the day, we would have, let's say, a joint production scheme bolstered by the political will of member states that would think out of the box and overcome problems of antagonism between national defense companies, which up till now, and it's very natural to do so, they had to support. So in that way, I do believe that would make the best use of the tools that the European Union is offering us. However, when it comes to the design of the new security architecture, I think there are some other questions that we have to deal with. Should the new European architecture incorporate Russia in its final design, or should it happen outside or in spite of Russia? I think that's a very crucial question to address. I have stated in the past that maybe Russia felt too cornered and too threatened when NATO almost expanded in the Ukraine. And that made Putin to lash out and behave in that very aggressive manner. Of course, there's no question that we did have to support Ukraine in aiding it with military means. For us in Greece, it would be, there was no other road to take, because how would we argue against the occupation of Cyprus when Turkey invaded, when we would tolerate at the same time Putin's invasion of Ukraine? There was no other way for us. We did support Ukraine to the best of our abilities, but you know, we have now to accept how things are on the ground. Apparently the Russians have gained a military advantage, and we're still in search of a peace process initiation. Undoubtedly, this peace process starts with a ceasefire. I'm not sure everybody has those intentions.
So if you can round up your comments, that would be great.
I will. I'm putting an end to my statement. Ceasefire, the agreement on guarantees, and the very delicate issue of territories. So this is not, I wouldn't like to be in the place of Ukrainian politicians or even European politicians that have so far supported Ukraine, because the negotiation starts from where things stand in the field as we speak. So this is a very intriguing prospect, but I do believe that Europe should take advantage in a peculiar way, in an ironic way, of the situation in the Ukraine to start seriously redesigning the security architecture of the region, working with the Americans, not pushing the Americans away, but asserting its own geopolitical footprint and investing in their defense industry, which is the most basic condition in doing this.